This is Bruce Sudano, and you're listening to.
It's okay. It's live. No one heard that.
Okay,
No, but just
good.
try to get.
Hey, this is Bruce Sudano, and you're listening to the Break It Down show.
That's right. That's right. We're getting it done. Bruce, you've been around and worked with a lot of incredible musicians in your day. And the Break It
Mhm.
Down show has, at our heart, we're a show about music. It's not always that, but just the term "break it down." I mean, it's
Right.
it's a musical term, and our musical guests have sold, gosh, I don't know, 1.7 billion albums or so. The last time I kind of did a rough tabulation, two of the
Wow.
three members of the Police have been on.
Uh-huh.
Um, Ali Willis,
Uh-huh.
who is a songwriting god now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
incredible to have all you folks on. You're a songwriter as well, and you've got a new album out and everything. But just in general, when you look back at your life, where you're at now, if you told that kid who's like, I don't know what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to, anybody can say they want to be in music, but here you are. I mean, you have a legit home, you live in Milan, you sometimes live in LA. This is a life that you couldn't
Yeah.
dream of when you're that small. Because I mean, sure, you could say I'm going to be famous or something like that, but that's not what you have now. You have something sweeter.
Well, yeah, I don't think anybody can really predict their lives and what their lives, how they evolve. Mine certainly has evolved in an interesting way, very surprising, most of all to me. And there are, I consider myself a blessed man, and but that doesn't mean I've had a life without bumps and bruises. But overall, I feel like I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Regardless of that path, right? Like that's sort of the wisdom as you look back. You're like, this couldn't have gone any differently. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Do you remember that though? Like when you want to push on something so hard? Because sometimes things need pushing, and sometimes things
Yeah,
need going around. And I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah. Well, I've learned. When I was younger, I pushed a lot harder against walls that I probably shouldn't have been pushing against. But I guess there are lessons that we all have to learn, and the thing is, you got to keep learning and keep understanding and keep moving forward. And I mean, that's what I try to do. But when I say I'm right where I'm supposed to be,
mhm.
uh, I've kind of had that understanding within me for a long time. So
Mm.
even at points in my life when they were sideways or here or there, I kind of always still felt like, okay, you're in the pocket of where you're supposed to be. So I don't know.
But you are still working. I mean, you could, I imagine, kick it back and gear down a little bit and just kind of relax or not work as hard. But you seem like you're still pretty productive. Why?
Because it's who I am. It's what I'm called to do. It's where I know who I am. It's what I love to do, and I have the privilege of being able to do it. So, yeah, let's go.
Let's get to work.
Yeah.
Your your fountain of songs. I mean, you've written a lot of songs over the years, and again, worked with a lot of people. I guess we should also mention you were married to Donna Summer until her passing. So you have been around music your entire life. Who do you want to work with, or do you want to partner with anybody, or are you more just in an expressive, self focused phase? That sounds like crap.
Yeah, it sounds really bad, but it's exactly where I am. But it's not bad. It's not a bad time to be that way because of the situation that we're in, So it's, I obviously have people that I work with and that I enjoy working with, but in terms of songwriting, let's just say,
Mhm.
I've been in a solo uh, mode for a number of years. And that's not to say that I haven't co-written here or there, but for the last at least 8 years, I've been solo songwriting. But, I feel like, I'm at a phase in my career where I'm allowed to say what I want to say. I have, when you're a songwriter early in your career, you're writing for different reasons. You're writing because you want to get on the charts, you want to have a hit, you want to get a cut, you want to, so, it pulls you in different ways, and I'm not there now. I obviously still have a publisher who is just like knocking on windows and whatever to get a cut or to get something, but I'm not writing for that. I'm just writing. I'm on my own journey of self-discovery at this point.
You're not a spring chicken. You're doing fine, but why are you still in self-discovery mode? Haven't you figured it all out yet?
Yeah, I figured it all out a few times, Pete. There is no arrival. That's you're always getting there, and that's okay, because we live in hope and we live in purpose, and otherwise, why? So balancing it all out. So
for anybody watching on the live side, there is the brucesudano.com link. And then here is the YouTube page where you can get a lot of Bruce's work. And you just type in Bruce Sudano. It comes up easily in any kind of search. If you Bing or Google it, whatever, it's not hard to find. And you guys can get a lot of background. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on the background because I don't think you're focused on the background. I think you're focused on where we're at and where we're headed.
Yeah. That's, I'm not running from my background, or I'm not hiding from my background. And in fact, my background supports where I am now, and both monetarily, emotionally, and spiritually. So, but I am about in the moment. And I am about what's the next song. That's a big driver for me. And so yeah. So I'm excited to be creative, and I'm in the zone. So you never know when you unzone yourself, when you
yes, yeah. I like it when you're in the zone. Man, I got to tell you what, I'm struggling with some unzoning right now. The show does so well. We have so many incredible people like you on the show, but you're constantly, as a producer, as a host, as a publisher of things, I'm constantly having to do things and learn skills that have nothing to do with what I'm great at doing, and you must feel this. I mean, you have a YouTube channel. Yeah. Well, if you don't put energy into it, it doesn't grow. And you're like, why do we even have a damned YouTube channel? I don't even care about you. It's,
right.
So crazy.
Yeah, no, it's but it's the game, and there's always been a part of the music business, that's always been a fun game, and I've enjoyed that aspect of it as well. And I think that also helps with the perspective of keeping everything in its proper perspective. It's a game, and it's a fun game, and there are certain aspects of the game that I'm good at, and many aspects of the game that I'm not good at. And so, you try to get better where you're weak. And if you don't care, you don't care. Sometimes I just don't care. And I have to accept that about myself, Pete.
Man, that is some powerful, powerful stuff right there. Our guest yesterday was similar. He's been around the block a few times, still active, still at it. And he was talking about, it's okay to not care about something and recognize that and not put energy into it. Like, yes, maybe it hurts your feelings to know that this atrocity is happening or whatever. But if you're not going to do any damn thing about it, figure out what matters to you and do something about that. And that's a big lesson, man, because it's no good to look and go, yeah, I know there's kids that are hungry over there, but my energy is going towards these things,
Right. And, and that's okay too, because you have, you can't do everything. So you have to, try to fill all the buckets that you have to carry, but things that you don't care about, you shouldn't try to fill that bucket because it's not for you to fill. Maybe, fill the buckets that you do care about.
And it can make you be an asshole either to yourself or to somebody else. Like it's.
There's always that possibility too.
Yeah, man.
There's that airplane.
Yeah, there it is. I'm going to try to shut up here for a second. Fill about 20 seconds for me.
Okay. I
love it. All right. So I actually do have a question.
Okay.
The music industry is constantly evolving. We kind of look back like it was set in one way or whatever, but it's constantly moving forward, kind of like YouTube and everything else, which is part of the music industry now. The question I have for you is, as we look back and we see labels take advantage of artists, we've had Sly Stone on the show. And I mean, that guy's made more millionaires than maybe any other musician ever, and yet he has struggled the latter half of his life. I'm glad to say that he's off drugs and everything else, at least the last time I heard about him, which was not even 6 months ago. So he might have figured that part of his life out. But there is a trade-off in having access to that Capitol Records machine. And I'm using Capitol as an example. It could be Sony, it could be BMG, it can be whoever. But, you don't have to hire a publicist necessarily. You don't necessarily have to hire a marketing person. They do all these things for you, and they've got to spread their risk around a lot of things. But they do tend to take a deep cut and a big bite out of a lot of acts. Is that getting better? Or I don't know. I mean, when you look at the marketplace now and where it's at, and what it means to get a royalty check and everything else, is it possible for someone just to have a small band that's successful that they're able to make a living off of, do you think, anymore?
It's definitely possible.
Okay.
But you have to be good, you have to work hard, and you have to pick your shots, and you have to be lucky, and it was always difficult. It's difficult now. I don't know what record deals are like anymore. I have no idea. Most of the acts that I know, are finding their way on their own. And that's, that's through social media, playing out and and working it and building a fan base.
Yeah.
That's how, and so that's, I know a lot of people are doing that, and they're finding ways to make money and survive.
Yeah.
I have one of my daughters is in a group called Johnny Swim, and they've carved out, a space for themselves on their own by dedicating.
Bruce locked up here for a second. Hopefully he'll come back.
Uh-huh. There you are.
Yeah. It's the wireless thing.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to mention Johnny Swing because, I mean, that's a great example of a band that is, successful, but could still blow up 10 times, before they had like massive success. It's one of those. It's one of those weird things where you've got this audience. We had a dude on the show. He's sort of a modern day troubadour. And for a long time, he would just travel around, find a place to crash, via all the great social media aspects of things, like, hey, I'm going to come play a concert. And he would literally do like these salon concerts, basically, like from the olden days, get paid $250 or whatever it is, maybe $1,000, who knows, right? And he would just find ways to interact with this audience that he built through just being on the road, playing out, but playing living rooms instead of dance halls. And he lives in Italy, just down the road from you, and that's what he does. He writes music, and he's got just enough of an audience to make a career out of it.
Right. Yeah.
But that sure is terrifying.
I know a few people like that. And it's okay, I mean, it's fine. they're happy to be doing what they're doing and surviving doing what they're doing. And, these are choices that we made a long time ago, so, for certain people, there's no turning back. But again, like for young bands, it's, when I was coming up, there were plenty of places to play. This was the thing, and I would have a band back in Brooklyn back in the '60s, and we would just play clubs 3 nights a week, 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week, and 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 we didn't make a lot of money, but it was money to live on, so that may be harder these days. I don't know, but yeah, but as far as record deals, I don't know about record deals.
Yeah. We've had. I'm going to bring up Sly Stone again because he taught us a lot. One of the things he was saying is if my music isn't good enough, I don't deserve to eat. And you're competing with someone like that as a peer, and
Yeah.
here's this person
Yeah.
that's, and I explain this kind of concept to a lot of people. There's someone out there who's absolutely not going to fail, or they're going to die. They're literally going to die trying.
Yeah. Many people, but there's no magic formula, so everybody's got to follow their own path and find their way.
I'm going to explore this a little bit more. We had the guy who's the lead singer for Fishbone, and Angela Moore, and he was talking about the blender and how like everybody sits on the edge of the blender, and you see people jump in and get eaten up by the industry. And he's like, then you realize you're actually in the blender, not on the edge of it, and you're drawn to put your toe in, and the next thing, So when you've been around long enough, you've seen a lot of people get chewed up in the blender. Is that just part of life? Is that just a more higher profile version of it or something? I mean, when you see people get destroyed by the industry who aren't around anymore, all that, whether they're alive or not, how does that impact you as an artist?
Well, you never want to see anybody eaten up by the blender, but the thing for me is I always equated it to staying on the train. It's not so much getting eaten up by but I know through the course of my musical train ride, I've seen many people exit the train because they couldn't do it anymore, didn't want to do it anymore. They couldn't handle life on that level, and but there are just casualties in life. So does the music business have more casualties? I don't know. Maybe at one time it did, but now there's so much pressure everywhere, and so who knows what's going on in so many people's lives right now. It's really a difficult time, for so many people.
It's a really difficult time. You've lived in two places that are notable for how much they've struggled with the coronavirus, and we still can't seem to wrap our hands around what does and doesn't work. And even if we do, we can't seem to agree on how. I mean, one of the benefits of living in America is that it's wildly diverse, and one of the hard things is that we don't do one thing well. Our diversity is, in this case, I think, not a blessing. It's caused us a lot of struggle. You write a lot about social issues, at least right now in the new music and everything. Talk a little bit about that voice and what your responsibility is to all of us as we try to sort out this thing called life.
Well, I mean, all I can do is try to express my point of view in a song. and when I am, and basically as a songwriter, I'm somebody who 70% of the time is going to come from a place of a real, genuine inner emotion, and that's kind of how I write. I'm an emotional writer. Philosophical, spiritual. These are the kind of the places where I draw from. So, in terms of, so if I'm driven by, this whole political climate has been unbelievable. So, I had feelings about it, and especially being somebody who has traveled the world and has lived in different places and understand, really understand that, people, we are all the same. And at the heart of it, that how we get driven to our extremes, which is not even who the great percentage of us are. Most of us are folding into the middle at some layer of the onion. But this past time we've been really driven and I think lost our way, and so that caused me to write a song called American Sunset, I'm hopeful that, I mean, of course, we're going to get out of this and we're going to pull it back together, because everything is a scale, so, it gets too far right, then it gets too far left. And, it's like we got to balance this thing out and be rational, reasonable adults and put your point of view on the table. Let's compromise and let's make a deal and do the best we can and keep moving forward. That's what I say.
I love it, man. And I'm a middle focused guy too. Like I say, I'm center right, middle left. It's like, ask me on a position and you're not going to get an answer that you recognize as belonging to any particular, just ask me three and you'd be like, I don't know what Pete is, and what I care about are people. I believe in us, and I don't profess to have all the answers, but I do know that whatever deal we make as a nation, it should be shitty for everybody, because we worked all hard to sacrifice what we had to do to advance forward. We absolutely have the ability to deal with the medical problem here, and getting people access to medical coverage and doing that. But we would all have to give up everything we have now to get a state of the art. And we're just not willing to do that. We're not willing to dig into our pockets. We're not willing to stand in the line and say, get us the best possible program in the world. We're not willing to do it. We want it. We're desperate about it, but we can't agree on what that looks like.
Well, that's why we have leaders and people to say, we have to agree on something. So let's do the best we can.
Yeah.
And then make it better, So
I don't want to get us too political. I want to change gears a little bit. You wrote a wonderful song, probably my favorite one that I listened to out of all of them, called Morning Kisses. And this is not a song about who is president or who runs the house.
No.
Let's talk about Morning Kisses for a minute, man. I love that song. One of the things my girlfriend and I do is we often have, breakfast cookies with our coffee. I mean, it's just the theme in your song. So it definitely resonates with me.
Okay.
Tell us about how that song was born, where it came from.
Okay. It's pretty literal. And, I was married for 32 years. And 8 years ago, my wife passed away. And in February, I will have been remarried for 1 year, this coming February.
Congratulations.
And so Morning Kisses is it's a romance song for and about, one morning of me and Francesca. And it was a song that I wrote, I wrote a little while ago. And I didn't record it right away, because I kept feeling like I was supposed to write more song. Because if when you listen to the song, you'll see that there's basically only one verse. So, just because I am, stuck in my ways, I was like, you have to have a second verse.
That's right.
So I lived with it for so long, and then I said, no, you don't need a second verse. You said what you had to say what you have to say. And if it is what, and so finally that's what I did. I in lieu of a second verse, I kind of made up another little melody part. So yeah, so nice and simple, keep it easy, don't overthink it. But I'm glad you like it.
No, I loved it. I thought it was
Yeah,
great. And actually, I didn't mind it. Like, you could have repeated that for us, because I
yeah,
noticed that.
yeah, yeah,
And just like that's part of the love, right? Is to get up and repeat that process of
yeah,
having
yeah,
breakfast and coffee and all these,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just, it's a wonderful love. What are your favorite kind of songs to write? I mean, do you need to do the more socially conscious ones, or what really makes you happy when you write it?
It doesn't matter. What makes me happy is when I think I wrote a good song. So, it's like now I'm working on a song and it's going to be a good song. And I'm like, this is going to be a good song. But there are like a couple of lines that I just don't like. And so I wrestle with it, and I'm talking to you and somewhere in my mind, it's still going, then I'll go and when I hang up with you, I'm going to do a Pilates class, and
Right.
I'll be in Pilates and I'll be still wrestling with what is a better line. So um that's what makes me happy. It's not really what kind of song that I write, because if I'm writing something and I'm into it, then it's just about me feeling I get to a place where it's right, and if it doesn't feel right to me, it's just, it has to wait.
Do you have like any tricks where like you have this part, you just don't love the words, and I'm like, do you like, well, let me dig into this thesaurus, or how can I get deeper with this, or how do I turn this phrase so that it becomes more a different thing.
Yeah,
Bono was great at this. He'll just turn
yeah,
that phrase, and you're
yeah,
like, oh man, that opened it up.
yeah. I mean, conceptually, I'd like to know what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So if I had, I mean, even if it's a come up with, if I already have the I mean, typically melody, chord, whatever, that's not the difficult part. The difficult part for me anyway is saying what I want to say in the way I want to say it. And so sometimes I'll just get hung up on, you know, you know, yeah, I'm listening to the plane. Uh, um, so what was the question again? Where was I going? I got lost.
We were just talking about, like, do you have tricks? Like, hey, I'm going to turn this
Okay.
phrase.
Yeah. So no, I don't really have tricks. What I like to do, I think my biggest trick is as opposed to saying, okay, I'm going to go to that line where I like to, like, be over there, washing the dishes and then walk into the room, turn on the mic and just go and not see what comes out. And and then a lot of times I can sneak up on things because it has to feel right, sound right, and lay right. And so I try to, if I have any trick, it's kind of like trying to sneak up on the line that I'm looking for.
I like it. I like it. Let's stick with this a little bit, because this creative process, I just find it to be unique, obviously, for each person. Yes, there's some formulas and some things you do, but how you do it, ultimately, that's the nuts and bolts, A to B, A to Z. It's going to be your own process. So when you're translating something from whatever's in your head and getting it out, whether it's a piece of music, a sound that you have in there, or an emotion, what would you say is the element that that you get where you're like, I have to figure out how to, process this thing? Is it like, for some of the musicians, it's colors, sometimes it's an emotion. What would you say is like the base elements of what you're creating when you're doing it well?
Well, the base element is you're trying to convey an emotion, a feeling, and all the elements of putting the song together are contributing to that, and for me, most of my stuff is lyric driven. So, I have to be careful of, my, don't get in front of, don't get don't get in the way of the song, kind of is, because it's right now I'm working with my producer Randy Ray Mitchell, who lives in I think North Hollywood, and so yeah, I mean, Randy and I have worked a lot together since for many years. I mean, but he's worked with me as one of my producers since I think 2015. So we've done a few records together, and so anyway, now all this to say, now if I'm writing a song on the acoustic guitar, typically I will do that with him in the room. I'll put this song down, I'll put my part down, and then I'll play a keyboard part, and then he'll build around me. So now it's more like I'm just sending him the acoustic guitar part, and I'm doing my vocal, and he's doing a lot of stuff there, and it's a really interesting way to work, and I think I got lost again, but but we'll get some stuff done.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I had Chris Merritt Hughes on the other day. He's a producer, and I was asking him like, who would he like to work with now? I mean, he's worked with everybody, so who would he want to work with? And he said something that kind of surprised me. He's like, the bands that I want to work with, they don't need me. They can do this stuff themselves at this point. It's got to be younger acts.
yeah.
But it doesn't mean that producers are obsolete. But you use a producer, you certainly could find a lot of people to work with you. But why Randy, and then why not yourself?
Why not myself? Because I don't like it. I don't enjoy it by
Best answer
myself.
ever. I love it.
I mean, right now in these days, I've been doing a lot myself, and I don't like it. I have to force myself, and it's not what I like to be doing. I like to work with somebody who's, I like to have an engineer. I like that, because I like to be around people. So and why Randy is because Randy, we know each other a long time. We get along really well. We complement each other. He understands me as an artist. He knows how to help color my music. And it's interesting because on the last record I worked with Randy, and I also worked with Steve Adabo, who is in New York, and Steve, is a completely different. I mean, in some ways similar to Randy, in that they're both basically they're guitarists turned producers, but their sensitivities are, and so it's nice for me to have different guys that understand me, get the music, feel the music, and but bring different colors, so it keeps it fun, it keeps it interesting. I also worked with, as a producer, Mike Montali, who's a lead singer from a rock band called Hollis Brown.
Sure.
And Mike too. Mike is younger and edgier and has a different perspective, and answering why not me also is because I've done it for so long that I do what I do the way I do it.
Right.
And there's so other people bring other things that I would never bring. And it's like, especially Mike Montali, because he has, younger people have a different perspective of what's cool or what works, or that's a bad sound, or it's a different perspective. I've heard a certain sound and I know it's from 1972, and I hated that snare drum sound. But,
Yes.
What I mean? But somebody a little bit younger from a different perspective is going to go, no man, that drum, when you put it with this, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So yeah, you got to keep it, the hard work for me is creating the songs. The fun work for me is having somebody to work with to bring the song into a record.
You've just unlocked like 15 questions in my head. So let me go with this first one. One of the songs I heard, 'cause I can hear influence in what you're doing because you have been around, and there are certain things that you like in your music and everything. And there's similar vibes when you can tell like you're in an era of music. You're like, oh, this has a different vibe than this, but they have a similar like melody, maybe, right?
Yeah.
So anyhow, there was a Beatles sound that I heard. It was that that sound was in one of your songs. I can't think of which one it is right now. I'm about to look at your YouTube channel,
I
but it
have no
had
idea.
that kind of that you know tremolo guitar sound. I can't remember
Yeah.
which one.
I don't know which one you mean,
I
but
don't either. And it wasn't the full thing, but it just had that. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh, that's Beatles, and I can't.
yeah. Well,
I can't
Randy,
remember.
Randy, we have fun with stuff like that. It's like, Steve Adabo as well, and Randy. It's like, because we have so much history, every now and then it's fun for us to incorporate into something new that we're doing, something that's reminiscent of or reminds us of, or it's not so much that we're trying to copy something as we're trying to as we're bringing something that's warm and
Yeah.
fuzzy to us into something that we're doing that so frequently it's like on with Steve we did a song called For the Sake of Humanity, and left the studio one night and came back the next day, and he and that was the furthest thing from my mind. And he was like, yeah, I don't know, and I haven't put a wah-wah pedal on a song and I don't know, probably since 77. I don't know. but so yeah, it's fun.
You're prolific though. I mean, you're constantly writing and producing. So I have a production perfection question for you. When you're in the studio with Randy, who's the boss? I mean, do you give that up to Randy to let him kind of guide you and push you? And then, you don't want to spend $5 million producing an album. Those days are sort of over now. So how do you decide when, like, no, this song does need more work, or you know what, that's good enough. Like, that's a solid song. I'm happy with it. How do you balance that out between the two of you? And who gets to be the boss in the studio?
Well, I mean, there is not really a boss. I mean,
Okay.
ultimately, I'm the artist, so I will always reserve the right of last say. It's
Right.
it's me. It's representing me. That being said, I will, often, defer and look for, you got a better idea, because I don't know, is that good? What do you?
No, Bruce is locked up again here. I'll fill some time as we talk. Hopefully he comes back. It's kind of frozen in a funny facial expression. Gotta love the internet. So reliable until it's not. Man. All right. So for those of you listening right now, it's Bruce Sudano. You guys can go to brucesudano.com and you can get all of his music there, or also on his YouTube page. Let me put that link up for you all. And so there is his YouTube page. Okay, Bruce is back. Hey, Bruce.
Hey.
All right, so we missed a lot of that last comment, if you would.
Yeah, I have no idea what I was talking about.
Well, we were just talking production over perfection and who's the boss. And you were saying that you guys are, you reserve the last right. And let me also say this. Your ability to choose doesn't mean that you always pick your way. You might be like, we always go my way. Let me pick Randy's way because, we don't have all the answers. So, but you are the one saying this way.
Yes. But it's nice to have people you trust to be able to bounce things off. Is this good? I mean, even in choosing songs, I'll send songs to Randy. I'll say, I don't know if this one is worth it. What do you think? I mean, and then there are other songs that there is no doubt in my mind, and I'm just like, we're doing this one. But it's fun. It's all an experiment.
What's a home run for you? I mean, is it just a song that you love and reception of it be damned? Is it charting on some chart? What for you is like, damn, that's a monster?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, it's different things. I mean, first of all, it's like I want to feel like I wrote a good song. Once I feel like I write a good song, and then it's really about the process of trying to translate it into, the next level and maintaining the original spark of life that moment of creation has. That's always the thing. There's a song, excuse me, on the new record called The Promise. And The Promise is a record that I did with Mike Montali, and I had done it a couple of years ago. And it was just sitting there, and my publisher and my manager both really liked the song, and I was a little iffy on it. I really liked the song. I just didn't know how to produce it in a way that didn't turn it into fluff. So, because there's a part of me where I can, I don't want to say I can write a sappy song, but I can write a sappy song unless, not that I'm trying to be sappy, but somehow where I am in my elements, it can teeter. The Promise, that's where I was struggling with. It was like, okay, I think it's a really good song. It's got some great lines. The message is great. When I sing it with my acoustic guitar, it's right there. How do I take that and translate that into a record that doesn't turn into, something that, you want it to be a wedding song that doesn't sound like a wedding song is the thing.
Yes.
I don't know what that means.
I know what you mean. Yeah, you're trying to get right up next to it, but
yeah.
Maybe make them work for it a little bit, or just not be too on the nose. Like that's that. There's like not on the nose, but then there's sometimes when you want to just absolutely be on the nose, and it's a weird balance, right?
Yes, exactly. That's it. Yeah.
And we're talking about your latest album, which is Time and Space Between Volume 2. Is that right?
Spirals Volume 2. Yes.
Right. That the music on that album is great. It really is primarily you and your guitar. I mean, are you purposely trying to be stripped down like you are, or is this just a phase in your life, or what makes you just kind of focus that way?
Is it a phase in my life? For sure.
Okay.
But before we went into this kind of situation of lockdown, I was the last few years spending a lot of time building up my live touring situation. And so a lot of what, depending on the situation, I would have a band. It would be me and Randy, or a lot of it was just me solo. And I'd never been a solo performer. So I had to learn how to do that. And so I started in the comfort of a band, and then
Yeah. Bruce is stuck again.
I'm back.
I'm back. There you go.
Yeah. I see what goes on here now. Now I can get us back quick. So,
okay.
So I kind of went from the comfort of the band to down to me and Randy, and worked it as a duo. And then just because of ease and, more access of opportunity to play things, if you're one guy, you just have more options. So, I in the last couple of years got it to a place where I was pretty comfortable being by myself, and then this whole lockdown happened, and so I don't know where that leads, but I'm looking forward to getting out on the other side of that and picking that back up again, but we'll see.
We will see.
As they say in Italian, staremo a vedere, which means we'll see.
Yeah. Would you rather try to tour around Europe with all the different countries, or would you rather try to do a stateside tour?
No, rather. I've actually done both. I did a European tour last year. Well, it was really UK. I did a UK tour with Colin Bluntstone opening for Colin, the lead singer from the Zombies, and that was a great time. It was a really good experience for me because it was a situation where we had a lot of shows in a condensed period of time, and because of that, I was really able to get into a pocket of, developing my persona live, and Colin was really helpful too. He, would give me pointers so by the time that ended, it was good. So yeah, so I've done Europe and I've done the States, and I don't have a rather.
Okay.
I have a whatever I can, whichever comes first, and whatever makes the most sense when it shows up.
I love it. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Let's just get on the
We'll
road, it
see.
sounds like. Okay. So then I wanted to ask you about, it's interesting when you bring up all these different acts that you work with. Who do you want to go on the road with?
Who do I want to go on the road with? Anybody? No, who would I want to go on the road with? I don't know. I've never really thought about that. It's not like I have. I enjoy playing smaller rooms.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like that. I mean, I'm sure it'd be great fun opening for the Rolling. I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
but so,
Yeah.
but I like working smaller rooms and
Well, we're just on pause here. All right. Hanging on Bruce to come back talking about smaller rooms. He'll be back in a moment, I'm sure. As we try to.
there you go.
There he is. Okay, so you were talking about playing smaller rooms.
Smaller rooms. So yeah, so I really like to play smaller rooms. So I so it's not like a famous big famous band that I would really be happy to open for. I'd be happy. I like playing. I did a tour with Johnny Swim. We had great fun. They have a great, they have a great audience, and I did a tour with Hollis. I did a tour with the Zombies. But it's when
We're going to stand by while we're waiting for Bruce to pop back in. He did a tour with the Zombies, and then we lost him. This is the joy of live side. If you want to listen to the edited version of this, it'll be on the podcast side, where I'll go through and cut these gaps out and fill them in and polish up the show. That's one of the benefits of the podcast, is that we get to take the live elements that aren't contributing and bring them back in. Okay, so you were touring with the Zombies, etc., and then you were going to say something. Oh man! All right.
there we are.
Okay. You said you were touring with the Zombies, etc., and just go through that, and then we'll wrap it up, just because the wireless is getting worse, not better.
Yeah. Okay. No. So I really, I enjoy the aspect of one night you're playing a club, the next night you're playing a theater. A third night you may be playing. We played some like old churches, which were amazing. These huge cathedrals, and the ceilings are so amazing, and there I am with my guitar and a room full of people, and it's a challenging but nice experience, and that's the thing, is that you want to keep challenging yourself,
Right.
So we don't want to get bored, do we, Pete?
No. We're not getting bored. I've been playing where's my guitar? There, it's over here. I've been playing my guitar, a little bit more lately, and I'm nowhere any kind of good. I just try to be able to carry a tune and sing along with it, which proves to be pretty hard for me. Because I'm not trying to be a lead guitar player. I'm just trying to play enough to make my girlfriend smile, that kind of thing. which thankfully that bar
That's
is low
good.
for me with her, you know.
You know that, no, you might end up in the music business.
No, I can't.
That's
I
how
can only
it
afford one
happens.
job where I don't make that much money. I I'm hoping that we can get the
Okay.
answer to this with the wireless and everything, but what makes you pick a song that you want to do a video to? Because you've got a variety of things. You have kind of there's like the cutout mouth moving stuff, but then there's also some gorgeously shot film stuff that really moves you, obviously, because you wouldn't pick to do that. Tell me about that process.
Uh, well, the video process again for me is a collaboration. It's about I like to find young filmmakers who are enthusiastic and creative and have a vision for the song. That we can develop an idea and develop a mood and develop an atmosphere. The thing for me with videos is there was a video for the Morning Kisses song.
Right.
And I had a couple of different people do it, and there was just too much scenario and too many people hugging and and I was like, it was stealing the song,
Yeah.
and so at the end of the day, this one guy said, how about if we just did it with sheets and shadows? And I was like, yeah, that's exactly, I think, the vibe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think that's a great decision, by the way, because the words in the song do the image making for you.
yeah,
You really just need something to, don't get in the way of the groove.
yeah,
Don't get in the way of the groove.
that's it. And then on other things, it's like, I like doing the moving mouth videos.
Clearly.
I work with he's a great musician. He's English. His name is Elliot Mason, and he's also has a very colorful mind, and a great ability to edit video and tell stories. So I work with him, and then I work with a young Norwegian filmmaker. His name is Eric Bergamini, and we have a video coming out in the next week or two for The Promise that I did with Eric, and it's really sweet. And the thing about the videos is that a big part, you need content, and you need to stay active, and so you need to have things to keep presenting yourself. It's interesting because as I've built people who've come to know me more and more as I go forward, it's interesting to be able to introduce, like the other day I posted a song called With Angels on a Carousel, which was from 4 albums ago. But, so many people, that weren't around for that song and they never heard that song. And nice to have these videos that I've done in the past to rotate them and highlight the songs, and it's just another way of connecting with your audience and staying in touch with your world.
Yeah, and I'm going to put the link to With Angels on the Carousel on there. That is another excellent song. Yeah, just in case you didn't know. And then, by the way, I'm not surprised to hear that your illustrator friend is English, because he's got a lot of Terry Gilliam and how he illustrates. There's a lot of that Monty Python vibe, which is not a knock.
Yeah.
That's a hat tip for sure.
No, and he Elliot is definitely somebody who is his own quirkiness, so he's pulling from the right places.
I love that. I love that part of it. You had me at the illustration part anyhow, because I'm like, ooh, that's Monty Python. I got to ask about that. So I'm glad that came up in the conversation.
We actually have one more coming.
Nice.
I think for Valentine's Day we're going to put out. There's a song on the record called "It Don't Take Much."
Okay.
And so we got one of those Super Bruce videos, as I call them,
I love it.
coming for Valentine's Day.
Everybody should go check out Bruce's YouTube channel. It's Bruce Sudano Music. It's super simple. Just type in Bruce Sudano or go to brucesudano.com anyhow. And there's a ton of great music in there. If you like socially conscious stuff, you're going to love a lot of what Bruce writes about. But if you just love being in love, you're also going to like what he's got. I think it's great, man, that you're out there creating and just, I wouldn't say keeping it simple, but being elegant in your design and craft, and you know what you want to do, and you don't mess around with the other stuff. And you're right. Your guitar, a small room. One of the best shows I ever saw was the Chris guy from the Black Crowes. Him and his guitar in a side room at the House of Blues. You know, it's like it was like $15 a head, and it was just so good because that guy is great at that. And you are as well. I mean, hearing that music, like I said, that first song couldn't have been a more perfect song for me to listen to because it instantly brought me to the love spot that I have with my special someone. Any final words before I let you go?
Final words, I would just say, everybody, be well, be safe, be smart, have hope. We're going to get through this. Yay and amen and hallelujah.
I love it. I love it. All right, stand by. Let me sign off.
All right. Thanks, Pete.